This is the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast. For help with your retirement, schedule a 15-minute phone conversation with the team at ProStatus Financial Advisors today. Just call 866-597-1040 and at thesavvyinvestorradio.com.
Welcome back to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and podcast with the team at ProStatus Financial. Ryan Herbert is here. Lawrence Kiely is here as well. We're going to talk through some of the issues of retirement. And, of course, one of those big issues is what are we going to do with our 401ks? The people at Morningstar took a look at where people invest in their 401ks, and they found that $4 trillion, that's with a T, $4 trillion is in target date funds. Now, you probably would recognize those. They are a fund that has a year next to it. So, for instance, if you are going to retire in 2030 or 2025 this year, you would look for that particular date. And the idea of the target date fund is it gets a little less risky as you get closer to your retirement date. At least that's what they say. So here is Carrie Hannon from Morningstar, and she likes the idea of the target date fund.
But what I love about these and why they're so great for many investors is like when the markets go jangly, we don't sit there and worry because these are kind of balancing, diversifying your investments in a way that so you don't have to be panicking and you know that they're going to rebalance in order to keep you focused on what the goal is.
It's automatic. It's an automatic retirement plan. Lawrence, you dig into the 401ks. What do you see? Is this exactly what she's talking about?
It's historically or hypothetically, that's what target date funds are supposed to do. You know, you see the retirement, you're planning on retire at a certain age and you look at that age and what year that age is. And then the target date fund basically adjusts your risk tolerance to when as you get closer to retirement. So normally if you're younger and your target date fund is, let's say a 2060 target date fund or something way in the future. So up front, it's going to be more aggressive, so more on the equity side of the portfolio and less in the fixed income side, that safe money. And it's going to be more aggressive so that has more growth with it. And then every year that goes by, the closer and closer you get to that target date, right, that retirement date that's at the end of that fund name, the closer you get to that date, the more conservative the portfolio is supposed to become. So, you're 5 years away, you're 2 years away, you're 1 year away. Becomes more and more conservative so that it basically rebalances. And now that fixed income side, the safe side, is more heavily weighted. So now maybe 80% is in the safe side and only 20% is on the all equity side. So it sounds great, but the problem is it's not really truly being rebalanced. And it's almost like that buy and hold strategy that we talked about earlier. Is it's not really being actively managed for what's happening in the market. So you can be 5 or 10 years away from retirement and the market crashes and you lose a significant part of the portfolio because it wasn't actively managed. It's really just going by that, hey, you're based on where your age is and what your risk tolerance is hypothetically based on how far away from retirement is, your portfolio is still 70-30 instead of it being a little bit more conservative because you're approaching retirement, or instead of the portfolio being adjusted properly due to market volatility, it's just kind of staying in that 70-30 range because it's matching your target date of retirement. But we don't really know what's going to happen in the market 5 years from retirement, 10 years from retirement, 3 years from retirement. So you want to be more active in that portfolio and really being able to adjust it rather than it just sitting in this fund that is supposed to automatically adjust.
So, Ryan, we've gone through some down times in the market and target date funds have been around for quite a while. So there is, there's some history there that we can see how they did. In your experience in 2008, in during COVID, and in any of these downturns of the market that we have seen, do these target dates hold up and does the philosophy work, or does it just make you red in the face and say, get out of these things?
I'm going to argue so much against these target date funds. So much so that I Googled, while Lawrence was talking here, I sat here and I Googled Carrie Hannon from Yahoo Finance just to see what her background is, because what she said is that these target date funds, as the market is moving, they are making adjustments, which that is, from my experience, I would say that probably 99% of them do not do that. They do what Lawrence said, is as they get closer to that date, they become more and more conservative. So I just looked to see what her background is, and she's just been a lifetime author. That's it. That's her experience, not to poo-poo that, but really what these things do, like you said, I'm going to bash on T. Rowe Price. I feel like I earned that right as I worked for T. Rowe Price in this time frame, back in 2007, 2008. So you would think that if I'm in the 2010 fund in 2007, 2008, my fund should be very, very conservative. Well, after 2008, the T. Rowe Price fund 2010 fund was down about 26%. The 2015 fund was down about 32%, whereas the overall market was down 35%. So I'm 3 years out from retirement and I've lost 26% of my money. I am 7 years out from retirement and I have lost 32% of my money. That's certainly not the way to approach retirement. Conversely speaking, in 2022, when we had super high inflation and the Federal Reserve was raising interest rates, if I had, and I don't have the exact numbers on this, but in theory, if I had my money in a 2020 fund or a 2025 fund, those should be pretty close to 100% fixed income as it's supposed to be, as conservative as possible. Well, what happens when interest rates go up? It's a seesaw. We have interest rates on one end of our seesaw and bond prices on the other end of our seesaw. So if interest rates are going up, bond prices are falling. So once again, I'm really, really close to retirement. And what we had in 2022 was the stock market was crashing because of the inflation. Interest rates are rising. The stock market was down 22, 23%. Bond funds were down 17, 18%. Once again, if I am already retired because I have my money in the 2020 fund, or I'm going to retire in 2025, 3 years out, I have lost 18 to 20% of my money just because I have my money in these funds. And, I'm not bashing them altogether. They, in theory, they should work really, really well, but they don't work as effective as they should because of cost. That is the number one thing that most people are concerned about in today's day and age is how much am I paying my financial advisor? How much am I paying for the mutual funds that I'm in? How much am I paying for the investment vehicles that I am in? And mutual funds are essentially just big baskets of stocks and bonds. And as the mutual fund manager is supposed to be making this fund more and more conservative, he's supposed to be selling those stocks that he has in that basket and buying more bonds. Every single time he buys and sells, there's a transaction cost that happens. There's a fee that happens. That fee ultimately gets passed along. So every time somebody wants to buy the mutual fund, he has to go out and buy more of his stocks and bonds to keep his allocation the same. Every single time someone wants to get out of the mutual fund, he has to go sell some of the stocks and bonds in his fund to keep the allocation the same. There's transaction fees right there. And then if he's trying to make this thing more and more conservative as the years goes on, that's even more and more transaction costs. His goal, the mutual fund manager's goal, is to make it as cheap as possible so it's attractive to outside investors. So in theory, they're supposed to become more and more conservative over the years, but they don't always do that because they are trying to keep the fees as low as they possibly can. Because really, it's just a race to zero when it comes to fees nowadays. Keeping the fees low means it keeps it attractive, keeps money flowing into the funds, makes it so that T. Rowe or Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab or whomever it is can keep the lights on and pay all those employees, pay those people that answer the phone for you, and most importantly, pay that fund manager. So yes, in theory, these things are supposed to be great. I see a lot of people use them, but they are not as safe as you think that they are. You can achieve a much better diversification by using the other funds that are available to you. And when we see these things come in, and I have clients that come in and they have 100% of their money in them, I sit down and I show them, all right, you're in this 2030 fund. How conservative do you think it is? Tell me what you think that mix of stocks and bonds is. And they are always shocked to see it's not what they think it is. And if you have questions about your portfolio, whether you're in one of these target date funds or you're just curious about, is the mix that I have, is it appropriate for me at this stage of my life, at this stage of my retirement goal? Give us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. Sit down with my team here at ProStatus, and we will put together your very own portfolio x-ray that's going to show you the risk that you're taking. They're going to show you the fees that you're paying and help show you the appropriate amount of risk for you and your specific situation. 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. Or you can visit us on the website at thesavvyinvestorradio.com. You go to the website, right at the top of the page says schedule my call without ever having to pick up the phone. That's thesavvyinvestorradio.com.
And Ryan, just one follow-up on that. People might think that they're just stuck in their 401k plan. When you're 59 and a half and older, you now have the option to move money out of your 401k over to your own IRA without a tax ramification to it. And that way, instead of a target date fund, you've got kind of the world is your oyster. You can choose amongst thousands and thousands of places to put your money.
Yeah, you know, when you have your money in a 401k, they might only give you the retirement date funds. You know, I know that the 401k plan that we have here, we have those retirement date funds, but we also have a myriad of other options there. And I always do discourage my employees from putting money in those retirement date funds just for the facts that I talk about. But, you know, for better or worse, you have 20 or 30 investment options inside of your 401k. And for better or worse, if you move it out, you know, like you said, that 59 and a half provision, you know, while you're still working for that company, you have the right at that point to take the money out of your 401k, out of your TSP, out of your retirement plan, and put it over to an IRA. And then for better or worse, you've taken your options from 20 or 30 to 20 or 30,000 options out there. But the key part about it is you can achieve, you know, in my opinion, you can achieve better diversification by being outside of your 401k because you're restricted to whatever options the person who's in charge of your 401k set up. You have large cap, small cap, mid cap, you have value, you have growth, you have income, you have some bond funds, you probably have a real estate fund. You know, you go outside of that, you can be as broad as you want by buying the overall S&P 500. You can be as specific as you want by going into all the clean water producing companies in North America. But most importantly, it gives us the option of when your money is no longer tied to your employer, it's no longer tied to their options and their rules and whatever fee agreements that they've set up. Once you get the money outside of that, you have opened yourself up to the world of investments that's out there to you. And most importantly, you then can control the fees and you then can decide how much risk I actually want to take with my investments. And if you're curious about, is this right for me? What is the right process for me? Should I leave my money inside of my 401k? Because there are some advantages to that. Or should I pull my money out as soon as I can? I can encourage you to give us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. Sit down with Lawrence, myself, Mike, Andrew, Catherine, our team here at ProStatus, and we will put together your very own comprehensive retirement plan that does the portfolio X-ray and protection plan, showing you here's how much you're paying in fees. Here's how much risk you're taking. Here's how we can make sure that we can create those income streams that you and your spouse can outlive. And here's how we can do it as tax efficiently as possible. But it all starts by giving us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, or visit us on the website, thesavvyinvestorradio.com. If you're like me and you hate making phone calls to make appointments, go to the website. Right there at the top says schedule my call without ever having to pick up the phone. thesavvyinvestorradio.com.
Yeah, when you go to the website there, you'll see the 401k X-ray, which is going down deep into what's going on inside your 401k. What are you paying for fees? What is your performance? What's holding you back? What can we do to make that 401k really work for you in your retirement years? If you've saved $500,000 or more for retirement, this is where you're really going to see the complete retirement plan work for you. Give us a call. Give us a look on our website, 866-597-1040. 866-597-1040. That triggers a 15-minute phone conversation where we'll sit down and talk about what your concerns are, how we may be able to help. Maybe that leads us to getting an office visit where we sit down and really put the papers out on the table and really start to work on your retirement. Again, 866-597-1040 or thesavvyinvestorradio.com. That is all the time we have today on the Savvy Investor Radio Show and Podcast. Lawrence, I'm going to give you the last word on this one.
This is Lawrence Kiely, and thank you for listening to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and Podcast.
And this is Ryan Herbert. We'll see you, the Savvy Investor, next week.
Advisory services offered through ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, a registered investment advisor. Insurance licensed in Maryland. ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if ProStatus Financial Advisors Group is licensed in your state, please call 410-863-1040. ProStatus Group, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through representatives of ProStatus Financial Advisors Group.